Hi, good evening. My name is Mark. I'm here tonight to see if I can demonstrate to you folks on how to properly flare a piece of brake tubing. It's a 3/16 piece of tubing, and we're first going to do a bubble flare, which is basically used on most foreign automobiles, say Nissan, Honda, that type of stuff, Toyota. And then we're going to step into doing a double flare. But at this time, I have taken the liberty of, I'm going to step to the side, I've taken the liberty to cut this tube off already. So we got a fresh end, and I've taken the opportunity already to ream it out. This being the reamer, that's what you use to stick it in the tubing, spin it, and to take all the burrs out of the center of the tubing. So with that being said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my anvil that will clamp this pipe in, or that will clamp this tubing in, and we're going to clamp it then in the vise. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take this and we're going to spin this around here and kind of put it on here a little bit snug, just enough to hold it in place so it doesn't fall off. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and start setting up the tubing for flaring. So if you'll bear with me a little bit, I'm going to take this, put it on here, then I'm going to drop this down a little bit to put it in the vise so we know it won't move. Okay, so that being said, we're probably, and we now have it stuck in the vise. And as you may be able to see, at this time, you really can't see the tubing end, but it's barely sticking out right here. If you take a look at it, that's where it's at. Okay, we also have the piece that's going to go inside the tubing that's actually going to do the flaring. This is it, and this will be stuck inside the tube prior to putting on our flaring tool. Now the next thing you want to do is to make sure that, number one, this anvil is tight in here, and then the flaring tool will adjust it to where it comes down where it needs to, because what we want to do is we want to measure this flaring tool, or the tubing. We want it to stick up as high as this little ridge is on this piece. If you can see it, there's a little ridge right here, and that's how high you want your tubing to come up to. So I'm going to put it on top of the anvil, and then I'm going to start working it down, and it will ultimately be set up to be the same height as my ledge and my tube. Okay, one of the important things you want to make sure you're doing in this is to ensure that the tubing is nice and snug, and that you don't want to go any higher than this lip, because you could be in danger of basically splitting the tubing. And the worst thing you can do to a brake line is to split it. All right, now this is my flaring tool, and as you can see, the flaring tool's got a pointed end on it. We're going to it had a pointed end on it. We're now going to take this flaring tool. The threads on there are just a little bit iffy, but that's not going to affect how it flares. All right, so that being said, what we're going to do then is take this flaring tool with this little cup, and we're going to take the flaring tool and put it on at an angle. There we go. And then we want this to be up high enough that this pointed end of the flaring tool will fit inside this cup. All right, now that we're at the cup, we can turn around and start threading this down. And what you want to do is to get it to where it comes basically up, and then you want to slightly twist it so the flaring tool rests against the anvil. All right, you want to take a look at it and make sure that we're square with the tube. Everything looks pretty good. Looks like we're nice and tight with everything. I'll snug this up. And what I'm going to do next then is to flare it. So I'm going to take this handle, put it in the flaring tool, and lightly turn this. Don't want to be in a big hurry. You're going to take it down until it just touches. All right, and we're getting closer. And there we are. All right, now I'm going to back this out, take this flaring tool off, and I will show you that we basically have a very good start. Not a very good start, but a very good finish to this single flare, which is what's called a bubble flare. And the bubble flare basically, again, is what we use on most foreign automobiles. So that turned out real nice. It's a great bubble flare. It's nice and smooth inside. So that being said, I'm going to put you on hold, and I'm going to change over to my double flare. And as soon as I get everything mocked back up, I will be back with you. Thank you. Okay, thanks for waiting. What I'm doing right now is taking this mini tubing cutter. We call them fondly known as an imp to some of us guys. And I'm going to turn around and I am going to put this tubing in the vise here and just lightly clamp it. It's got a tubing notch in it, and I'm going to use this small tubing flare. And since everybody's got to flare stuff, and we're just trying to do what we can to save our tubing as best we can to keep the cost down. So right now what we're doing is I'm spinning this around, and as it comes around, I put about a quarter of a turn on it. I do it again, and I turn it around, another quarter of a turn. I bring it around, and we're just about through it. You can kind of tell when it's just about done because it starts getting easier. And there we go. That is the end that I've cut off. Again, that is the bubble flare, if y'all want to take a look at it a little closer. All right, now what we're going to do is take this back out of this pipe, or out of the vise, and we're going to take the tube and get ready to double flare. Okay, now that I have taken this and cut this off, I'm going to use our reaming tool, as I showed you before, and I'm going to ream this out to make sure we have no burrs on the inside, and that we can get into our piston or a wheel cylinder, depending on what you're working on. Piston being a disc brake, wheel cylinder being a drum brake. Everything looks good there. It's nice and clean, nice and deburred. Okay, we use an entirely different anvil this time to double flare this. And here's the anvil we're going to use, and you can see the deeper flare on this particular anvil as opposed to the bubble flare. I'm just going to show that to you. If you can see that angle, it's fairly deep. All right. The bubble flare, on the other hand, has an angle that's really, really shallow. You can see that, and it's only, and you use this one just for the one time to bubble flare the tubing. Okay, so again, we're going to use this anvil. We're going to place it in here, in the vise, get it clamped down, and snug it up good so it doesn't move. And this time we're going to take our tubing, and we're going to use the same theory basically as what we did before. I'm taking this tubing and putting it in this vise, or in this anvil, and what we're going to do is use it to get ready to measure the depth that we want for our end. And remember, this is the end that we're using to put inside the tubing, so when we go to double flare. So once again, you want to take this tubing and you're going to bring it down to where it's just level with the edge of that flaring tool, or flaring tool, but flaring head, and then you want to snug it down to ensure that the tubing doesn't move. Snug it just a little bit, doesn't have to be super tight because this thing will hold a lot. And as we can see, after messing it, everything looks good. Alright, so now once again I put the pin down inside the tubing, just like so. I take my flaring tool again, I put it back over the anvil, and I run this down again until we're snug. Want to look to make sure it's square. Everything's looking good. Looks square. So now I want to take my handle and put it back in the flaring tool, and we're going to take it down, and we're going to lightly touch it down against the anvil, because this one here will be flared twice. This is actually the inner part of the flare that we're doing right now. And we've got this done now. I'm taking this off. Alright. Taking this little anvil out. And if you were to look at this, I can show it to you. So look at this. It looks a lot like the bubble flare, except we have to go down one more time with it. So we'll put it back in the vise. We'll snug it up, and then we're going to take our flaring tool without the cup, and we're just going to run it right down on top of this tubing. So we've got a little ways to go here, so I'm going to spin it down with my hands. Alright. Okay. Alright. Now we're back down to where we're snug. The flaring tool's resting against the bottom of the anvil, and we have the handle now. And what you want to do is you want to take this handle and you want to tighten it down to where it just gives you a comfortable stop. You don't have to get brute strength on it. All you got to do is just come down enough to where it actually gives you a nice, comfortable stop. About right there. You can always go more, but you can't go less. So you take this off, you look at it, and what you're basically looking for is you're looking for any areas in there that might actually have a crack by accident. If you crack it, you have to redo it. You don't have a choice. So you don't want to go too far, too quick. And as we've done it here, I think we're setting where we want to be. I'm going to take the flaring tool off. I've got that done. And with that being said, I'm going to loosen up my anvil on both sides. And this will be the finished product of what we're after. Alright, it finished out real nice. There's no real burrs. If you had any burrs on there, you could walk around with a real fine file and just kind of cut them loose a little bit, just kind of trim them. But a little bit of emery cloth would do the same thing. But with this said, this now has been flared, and the only thing that would be missing on this would be the nut that you would put on prior to flaring this to bring us up against it. The nut would nestle this down against the inverted flare on the inside of your fitting. But other than that, that should take care of it, and that's how you bubble flare and double flare a piece of brake tubing. And I appreciate you guys watching. Take care, have a great evening, and we'll see you again. Thanks a bunch. Bye.